Let me see if I can give you a quick lesson on addition of fractions, otherwise known as rational expressions. Now this is supposed to be the most difficult concept in this whole course, so hang in there. Really, it's not going to be that bad. There's really going to be two categories: fractions that have the same bottoms and fractions that don't. Fractions with like denominators, the same bottoms, such as 4/3 and 1/3, all you have to do is add the tops. 4/3 and 1/3 makes sense, is 5/3. You have 4 of them, you have 1 of them, you have 5 of them. That's all you need to know. With similar denominators, just add the numerators, even if they're letters. 7 over y plus 2 over y, they have the same bottom. It's going to equal, add the tops, 9 over y. It's easy if the denominators are the same. The problem occurs, what if the denominators are not the same? Well, to add fractions with different denominators, we're going to change it so that they are the same. We're going to find a least common denominator, then we're going to create fractions that have the same value as our original problem. And then once we have fractions with the same denominator, it's easy. Just add the numerators. Take a look at this problem. How are we going to add them? They have different bottoms. So we're going to use the least common denominator. He's going to save the day for many things in the future. The least common denominator, now only looking at bottoms, of 3 and 2 is 6. Now we need the fractions to both have a bottom of 6. So we're going to create equivalent fractions that have a bottom of 6. I look at the first fraction, 4/3, and I see that I multiplied 3 by 2 to get 6. Well, if I do it to the bottom, I'll have to do it to the top. And the reason I can do this, gotta have a reason, is that really, in effect, I'm multiplying by 1. And you can multiply by 1 anytime you want, in any form you want. 2 over 2 is 1. So 4/3 times 1 is still 4/3. It just looks different. So 4/3 is the same as 8/6. 8/6 just isn't reduced, but we like it with that bottom of 6. Let's do the same thing to the half. We multiply the bottom by 3, so in order to make sure this is 1, I'll have to multiply the top by 3. That's another form of 1. And now I have two fractions that have the same bottom. And it's easy. Just add the tops. It's really not that hard. Now I really think that's all you need to know. The rest you already know. For instance, with subtraction, if I asked you to subtract these two, well, I think we've done this kind of thing before. Let's find a common denominator. Now you'll need to know the common denominator of 18 and 12 is 36. It's the smallest number they both go into. You'll have to construct that on your own. Now, let's create equivalent fractions. We had to multiply 18 by 2, so we'll multiply 5 by 2. The reason we can do that is because 2 over 2 is 1. Don't forget that. You'll have to do the same thing to the top and the bottom. Okay, so 5 times 2 is 10. Now, in the next fraction, we multiplied 12 by 3, so I'll have to multiply 7 by 3. I see that I multiplied both by 3, but then I'm going to treat that as a negative 7. Remember, I always tell you to put the negative in the top. So now we're really not subtracting, we're just adding integers. 10 and negative 21, it's easy, is negative 11, and that's the answer. When we get to algebra, don't let variables scare you. You're going to do the same thing. To add fractions that have different denominators, we're going to first find your buddy, the least common denominator. The least common denominator of 13 and 26, since 13 goes into 26, is 26. That was an easy one. So now let's create our equivalent fractions. 13 times 2 is 26. So I have to multiply 5x by 2. That'll make it 1. And I get 5x times 2 is 10x. Now on the bottom, I really don't need to change it, but just in case you want to think about it this way, I multiplied it by 1, so I'll multiply 3 by 1. 1 over 1 is 1 also. Okay, but it's not going to change. Problem is, 10x plus 3, you can't add them. They're unlike terms. So this is even easier. Since I can't do it, I'm not required to. The answer is just 10x plus 3 over 26.
That's all I can say. Sheer, unadulterated brilliance.
It's not so bad.
Yes, you're in deep dough now.
This isn't that bad. What if I asked you to combine 3 of them? Well,
Holy hotbed.
it's not that bad. We'll have to do the least common denominator of all 3. Look at the 5 and the 3 and the 10. I need a number, the smallest one, that they all go into. In this case, it's going to be 30. And I'll basically do the same thing I did twice before. I'll do it 3 times. Create 3 equivalent fractions. And I'll remember that the negatives are all in the top. I multiplied by 6 here, so let's multiply by 6 here. 6 over 6 is 1. Note that I get a negative 12 because negative 2 times 6. Doesn't really matter where I write that negative, does it? Here I multiplied by 10, so I'll multiply the 1 by 10 because 10 over 10 is 1. And finally, here I multiplied by 3, so I'll multiply negative 3 by 3. Okay? Doesn't matter where you write the negative. We're going to treat it in the top all the time. And if I add these 3 numbers, negative 12, 10, and negative 9, you can do it. Add those 3 up. You get negative 11. And put it over the bottom. We get negative 11/30ths. And that's your answer. It doesn't get any harder than that. Go try it.